Hi, I'm live. I don't see anybody out there. I'm about a minute early trying to make sure that everything's working as we've had those experiences. Um, Looking forward to seeing y'all here today. If you're watching this later in the day, what you see down in front of you is the Oracle Garden. It's a divination tool that I use that I cast stones on to see what's going on around us. I'm on day 6 of 21 days of going through the elements of the garden, and each day I am channeling in another definition um, the to the garden. And so I right now it shows no one's watching this that's live. Yay, Ronnie's here. Yay, hi Ronnie. Um, Carol Lee, good. Okay, I'm starting to get some folks. I was just explaining that I'm on day 6 of defining what the garden's about. I love Albuquerque. It's one place I would move to. It would be there. I like it. The energy there is great for me, and actually, if you know anything about astrocartography, a couple of my planets go in a very positive aspect through Albuquerque, New Mexico. Aloha from Hawaii, I take it. I can't imagine why else we'd put aloha unless you're trying to fool people. Um, I didn't get any questions today in my community chat, but I think it's probably because I forgot to post I was doing this. Went up this morning, and I think it went out a little bit late. But anyway, first of all, if you didn't see my last night's show with Danny Shea, uh, please go look at it. It's really, really a good show. What Danny and I talked about was energies that are affecting us in the earth, and I found a couple videos and got trouble for one of them because it ends up they didn't come after me, but they the guys with the one at the end where the drop of water suspended between two acoustic fields, and you can see them change the harmonics and change the shape of the drop into the sacred geometry forms we use. They're not coming after me, but they said that's really their stuff. And we did put who it was. We're not in any trouble with YouTube, but I'd never melded other people's work into mine unless it was a reader, so it's kind of interesting. Um, but a big thanks to Danny and a thanks to my new subscribers. I picked up 10 of you yesterday, 10 new people coming to see what we're doing over here, so I think we must be doing something right. I think it's interesting for people to see the sort of things that we did on the ley lines and the energetics that are going on around us, because actually this morning the person I did a reading this morning, and that's exactly where she's been. She's been in 5 years of the emerging energetics, and she just kind of wanted to make sure that that's where she was, and she's very going to be a very powerful lady when she decides how to use all the energy she's filtering in through herself. But as y'all know, I normally work with stones and crystals, and so once again today, I pulled a picture of a crystal, and it's a really beautiful crystal. It's what they call a zeolite. It forms in these fingery forms. That's at its best, and it means peace. And it is related to our crown chakra. And it it's related to that chakra. Yesterday, you remember we got quartz, and quartz can go with any chakra. This stone you would work with your crown chakra. It's for peace. The medicine of the scolecite, and I had to go to YouTube to find out. I had to go to Google to find out how to say that. Is a powerful ally in assisting mastering the sense of inner peace. Scolecite is made up of hundreds of tiny slithers of hair-like shards. It's like an asbestos sort of thing. Each shard acts like a light beam of pure light energy spewing into the cosmos. And its crystal meaning overall, it's also, I looked at some various pictures of this. Sometimes it's not all that looking that way. Sometimes they're in like lumps, but you can see all the little stems and and shards there. Um, it's light divine peace in the darkest depths of our being, illuminating, purifying the soul, offering medicine and inner peace. And it enhances sacred space in meditation and relaxation, promotes inner peace and tranquility, supports you in the awakening to our new inner wisdom, which I think is really important at this time, because if you watch what Danny and I talked about, we talked about the coming of the energy changes and us needing to be purified, and it assists in purification and illumination of the soul. It allows deep access to subconscious memories to create a transformation, to change them. And when I saw the card, I thought, there's a tarot card I know in a deck. It's the Archangel deck from Radley Valentine. And this is his card, and it's card 13 in the Major Arcana, and it's peace. And in some decks, this is death, but it means transformation. It says to release the past, to have a more enriched future coming towards you. And that kind of seemed to be the theme of the day for me when I was looking around for things to talk about, because I don't have any questions yet. Mastering inner peace is really, really important. And one of the little, I get lots of little meditations of the day sent to me from various and sundry forms. And one of them today was, the past no longer has any power over me. It's over. It's over. I choose to live in the present moment. And so I'm going to say that again. The past no longer has any power over me. It's over. I choose to live in the present moment. And that was kind of how my day started out. Okay, well, we got a question. Kind of does with this. This was a reading for today's thing, and it said most of my questions were going to be spiritual and how to open up your third eye and deal with your intuition. So we're going to look at Marge's cousin D. I'm going to get this out of the way. I'll explain that later. Marge's cousin D. Oh, yeah. Man, their body is straight into change. Their whole main thrust of their soul and right now is in change. They need to be grounded mentally. You're going to have some real new final thoughts about this situation. I don't know that petty control is not shown here. I show in the future it's going to be clear. There's going to be some clarification. I think you're going to have a chance in the future to just say no more. If you start planning that idea, I'm not putting up with this anymore. It's going to stick this time. I know that's kind of what you're trying to do, but it's, in a way, being around that cousin, you know exactly what their intent is, and their intent is they want to, your problem is that your vision is so different from theirs of the world that, yeah, they're very petty and controlling. You just need to get in your sacral chakra with your spirit and just creatively create energy to shield yourself from them. I don't know that they're going to let go of their petty need to control. I think you guys just need to decide you're not controlling us. Just like it said, things that have happened in the past no longer happen towards me. Does scolecite have similar crystal composition to selenite rose? Yes, to some extent it does. Except the selenite rose is more compact and can be blown around and formed. Okay. See if your son will be released from prison. Okay. See, situation around your son in prison. Okay. There's clearly some movement happening towards this. He's in prison because of people out of his past. That's how he ended up there. And when he deals with that, some clarification is going to come forward that may help him. His spirit is locked between earth and fire. Fire is. He needs to let go of the past. He needs to start envisioning a future beyond that. In a way, his own thoughts keep holding him back, but there's a possibility of doing that. But the things he tends to dwell on are thoughts from the past. It shows his mind is moving forward, though. That's really good. His his mental attitude is really all important. Right now, he's got clarity in his sacral chakra, and that's going to be kind of the stone that's going to be his way out of there. He's going to start meeting with people and harmonizing his intentions and getting his point of view across about certain things. But I'm trying to figure out why that's there, body. Oh, his physical freedom is tied to the freedom he has in his own heart. What kind of how I put this together is his attitudes are changing. He's starting to connect to people who can teach him how to communicate what's going on around him more effectively. Do I see him getting out of prison tomorrow? No, but I do see his attitude is changing. He's learning a great deal, and I don't mean in a negative sense. Since you use prison, I guess he's been convicted. So something's going to have to come up that changes how the story around that conviction. Karen wants to know if there's anything she can do. What's the situation around Karen's chemotherapy? Oh dear. Yeah, you're tied right in all the middle elements. Man, you got everybody in one spot. But your mental attitude is changing, and that's really helping you right now live with the present things that are happening around you. Present. I think you're beginning to intuit a way. I think you're having synchronicity show up and show you a way to deal with it differently. Your spirit definitely wants out of this. It's so ready to not be in this stuff. Your spirit is it's transforming your thinking. Now this is the conglomerate we've got here. This is great because it means your body's moving forward. It's starting to really heal. The one that's most important is the pyrite being caught between all four of the major elements. And it means mental actions are your path to abundance. Clarification comes from dealing with your past, but that's going away. Move forward is coming. Grounding changes your attitude, and your clarification's in fire. Use ideas. New ideas are coming towards you right now that are going to help you figure out a way to deal with the chemotherapy. So I think it looks good, and I think your mental attitude's changing. I know sometimes people get very depressed in chemotherapy. I think you're coming out of that, and that will help you deal with it much more effectively. What's stopping Randy from moving forward in a relationship? Okay, we're gonna. Okay. Okay, we're gonna be on you. Let's see what's stopping Randy from. What's the situation around Randy in this relationship? See if we can pick out a time when he might start moving. A fall. I see. He had a false start with this relationship this spring. It's too close to relationships he's had in the past, so he's seriously rethinking it. He will come to a positive conclusion about this. He's got clarification in the future and in the crown chakra. And I think that means for him, or I believe that shows clarification. All will become clear in the near future, and because he landed in future as well. Ideas planted at this time. He's starting to really work on it. His problem is this is like he got ripped off in an old relationship, and that's what he's not seeing the current relationship. He's thinking in terms of the past. Prince Charming Mom. Crystal Vaults is a good one that's online that I like. I think their prices don't look bad. I don't know where you live. I don't know. I know my son went to a crystal store that we get the stones for this to pick some more up to start loading some more gardens. And they were closed today, and there's nothing on the door saying why. So I don't know what's going on with rock stores today. But if you want to go online and look to Crystal Vaults because they have a lot of really good information along with every crystal that's in there. I don't know those people from Adam except I've used them for years to get information. Is your grandmother on the other side, Benny? I take it. That's what we're saying here. Let's see about the situation about the grandmothers and the daughters, and then I may pull a card from Von Prague's deck. Yeah, she's watching over them. She's taking care of them. You once again, this is a powerful reading because you got that stone that landed right in the middle, and it said, "Be sure thoughts are clear. Use ideas." Yeah, that's really powerful. It said all things are sort of coalescing. You're going to get more clarity about that situation soon. Your spirit's in air and your thoughts are in air, which means that you're sending good energy towards them. Which stones are good for preserving and staying in the positive? Okay. All the ones I have on this board are positive stones. Quartz is great for positive energy. Amethyst is great for positive energy. Even smoky quartz is great for positive energy. I know it's dark, but it's one of my favorite ones. If it depends on why you need the positive energy. If you want to ground, this is obsidian. You don't need a piece this big. That can be very small. That'll help you. It'll help ground you, and that helps you stay more positive because you don't get off out in the land of thoughts where we don't believe. Karen, John. Oh, your chemo things. Just watch it carefully, Karen, because I saw that some things are changing for you physically, positively right now. Thank you, Benny, for the blessings. Okay. Let's see about Autism Mom's 18-year-old son who's acting out. Let's see what's the energy around him right now, and what words, what elements of guidance do you have to help her in dealing with him? Things are going to start changing this fall. He's acting out now because his mind's way overactive and he's trying to clarify. So he's lashing out because it's kind of like a younger child when they're very frustrated. They don't know how to express what their mind says. So I used to run a daycare. That's when kids are at 2 and they bite each other. It's because they know the words they want to say, but they just can't quite get them out. They get really pissed. He has in Earth. His spirit's going through a transformation right now. There's some serious changes going on around him, but it's going to be good for him in the future because he has all of his gifts are not yet recognized, but there's an enlightenment coming in with that. So the way you can help him is to try and let him express the best he can, besides tearing things up in your house, how to move forward. Okay. Daughter wants to start a creative business. Boy, that covers a broad range of things. Let's see. Okay, she has a really clear idea. She knows which creative business it is. Her mind and her values are in equal amounts in this endeavor. She's got several different paths and ideas, but she's going to ultimately refine it. Jennifer, I know you work with this stuff. Does she have a past life she remembers, something that she wants to bring forward from that past life? I think she's starting to do that to some extent because it shows At this time, she's beginning to embody the ideas, so you need to work with her to do that. Um, what she has, and I'm sure it's because remember the stone in the middle, spirits in the middle of those four, and at that crux. You can also get spirit in the crux of other things, but spirit in the crux of this, it's all that she needs to get into her own mind and get clear about what she wants to bring forward from that past life. You live in Wisconsin. Yeah, Wisconsin's kind of in a tough space. Um, just like I said, Crystal Vaults is the one I know of here. Nature's Treasures, which is in Austin, which does ship out. So does the Rock Barrel that's here in Dallas. But their websites kind of aren't geared for merchandising the same way Crystal Vaults are. Oh, I know. Sorry, Autism Mom. If he's nonverbal, I'm going to pull a different card to try and help you, but let me get past the messages I have right now. I'm going to see what Spirit wants to, how Spirit wants to guide Barbara. What's the message for Spirit for Barbara today? Oops. Oh, you got a lot of stuff going on. You're working with some information from your past, and you're trying to figure that out. And your spirits right now, it's really working with the root chakra, which today that's the part of the garden that my guides took me into today to look at it. And connection with spirit is needed in this situation. You need to not be afraid to connect with the things from spirit. Your body is right between knowing what it needs to express in your heart chakra and having the power and the energy and the new ideas it's creating. But your mind and solar plexus is brilliant. You're connecting through your mental forces, and right now you're getting clarity from your present that's going to take you into your future. I would say the answers are all inside yourself. You need to do some meditation, and then your spirit guides will lead you. Hello, Andrea. Andrea, if you passed on earlier. Okay, it's going to require Von Prague's deck. Okay, I'm going to try and stop this so I can. The woman wants to know if her nephews are together, so we're going to ask her, talking to heaven, to see if we can pull a card about her nephews that will help her. Because I don't do mediumistic work, I do it with this deck. It's the only thing I found that really works for me, because I don't go to the other side. It's a long story, but I ran into a really nasty ghost. Oh, thank you, Rachel B. I'm going to do a question about the hurricane season. That was one of the things that came to me last night. I needed to try and do weather on this. Okay, I don't know how they all died together, but they said if they knew what they knew now, they would die. They would have done things differently. I think that, however they set this up to be in heaven at the same time, especially at that early age, they would have chosen a very different path. I don't know if they had any part in why they passed over, except as much as you ever do from choosing your own life path, but the three things. Oh, and here's your answer. We are so connected. So, and if you look at it, it's like all bubbles all together, and then they're all looking at the same things. We are so connected. We've been able to review their lives in heaven, and we've seen how perfectly everything was woven together. There were no accidents or wrong turns. Everything makes sense now. I wanted to give you exciting news. I saw that you and I have a strong connection, so if you've been feeling them around you, they're trying to reach out to you. We've been each other's teachers, sometimes in unpleasant ways. I have a feeling their death was very problematic. Of course, young people's dying is always problematic. In this lifetime, we are magnetically drawn together because we had mutual work to do for ourselves personally and for others. And now that I'm here, our connection remains strong. Just like when I was living in my body, our thoughts are in sync with one another. We often think about each other simultaneously. I know that we're all doing the same thing, but we're always now doing it with love. So I just got a funny feeling that some of their own life choices led to their deaths, and they're realizing I could have done that differently. They could have stayed linked together and not die together, but I don't know what the situation was. I hope that helps. They're around you. Okay, we're going back to Hurricane Lady. Okay, Hurricane Lady. That's not your name, Rachel. I know it's Rachel, but okay. I hope they're not going to be bad Tampa, because my artist is kind of in the Tampa Bay area. Okay. Situation on the hurricane season this year. Oh, very different layout. Let's see what it's saying. The storms are going to do. They're coming out of past mistakes, which means the overheated waters in the Gulf, I think. And they are... I think y'all have known how to deal with it in the past. I think you can see the signs of what's coming, so you're going to know how to handle it. Clarification comes out of earth and air, which is kind of where storms come out of. And okay, what I'm getting in all of them, I'm reading, I'm going to see what's in the crown chakra. What I'm seeing is be prepared, be prepared, be prepared, which I would take it to mean let's see. Okay, these cards all say be prepared, be prepared. This says that you have the mental acuity and the spirit to understand how to deal with those storms. I think it's telling you that maybe what you're going to have to do. It's going to require you to use all the strength you have. And I think hurricanes are going to show up all the way into winter. I know December 1 is like the cutoff date, but I see them all moving around. And you got 2 stones in winter and 1 stone in fall. Some are going to be coming up this summer before even September 21st. I think it's going to be a long hurricane season. Be interesting to see if that works out, because I've never tried to be the weatherman on my grid before. If you're doing inner child work, I have a deck called the Inner Child Cards. I'll pull one for you. With everything going on, should I? Oh, okay. Let's see. I don't know where you're going from and to, but I think if you take all the precautions you can, and your father's suffering from dementia, it might be the thing to do, Evan, but let me see. Evan's situation on Evan's father's trip to his father. Any words of... Well, you got 2 stones and go for it. So I think they're saying foundationally, I think this card is clarification, and it's in restate. And when I used to throw restate, I used to pick the stones up and pick them up again. But what I channeled, what restate really means, is it looks at the situation, get all the weeds out of the way, make the path as clear as you can for yourself. I think your spirit would never forgive you if he continued to get worse and you didn't take this one last shot at trying to connect with him. And your root chakra is your body, and you're concerned about your own illness. But if you're vaccinated and you take precautions, and I am now back... Yeah, you're worried about your own body's security. You're also worried about where his mental state is. This being in go for it means go for it. Means think it through, take all the precautions you can. It says you've got the ability to do that, and then go for it. And I think you'll be happy you did. I mean, it's tough to go see someone that's in that state, but I don't know what else I can say to you. We got one more person who wants a Von Prague card. Okay. Yeah, I want to hear about that, Andrea, but let me see who... Okay, Pam, we're going to see what if your dad has... This is a message from Pam's dad. I can get my words out. And I'm not dead. And when it says I'm not dead, it means that the way you thought and the way you grieved about him dying was he wasn't there. I mean, that's not what he was doing. It's kind of hard to explain. I'm only out of my physical body, that it's gone. I now know that our bodies are just a small part of who we really are. I'm aware that you miss my voice and physical presence, but my soul and spirit are very much alive. At the times when you felt my energy, I was really there next to you, as I am right now. We have a unique energy fingerprint, and you recognize mine when I'm with you. Trust that feeling. I'm actually more alive now than ever before. Gone are all the distractions, the stressors that I allowed to rob me from my enjoyment of my life. Now I see how trivial everything was, that all that ever mattered, that was important, was love, family, friendships, caring, and helping. I've also discovered how to turn my regrets into learning and growing, and I'm asking you to do the same. I now see that I never had anything to fear. There is no death. There's nothing bad that's going to happen to anyone that lives with spiritual truth. Even if you don't live with spiritual truth, the biggest shock is you get over there and it's true, the spiritual stuff. Of course, it's important to be smart and careful and always follow your own guidance. Please don't forsake joy because of fears. There's truly nothing to fear. I am always with you. So that's your dad. You want to share a miracle? Seeds are being planted. Oh, Andrea had a young friend whose mother was killed in a hit and run, and they've never found the person. And apparently yesterday, after she spoke to me in my show, and she also got a hold of Scott Allen, Scott does a lot of histories, mysteries, and all that sort of stuff. And she sent me a quick note yesterday saying things look like they may be on the up and up, that they may be getting some new ideas. Okay, Benny wants to know about volcanoes. Okay. If you watch the special Danny and I did yesterday about ley lines, we talk about the 7 chakras on the earth, and one of them is in the big volcano in Maui, which I will not even try to say the name of. I think it's Hialakaliki or something. I'm sure I just said it wrong, and that may screw everything up, but we're going to look at volcanoes in the U.S. Whoa. The body is in fire. Spirit is, it's going to be a chance for us to relook at our spirit, because the spirit hits, and it actually kind of curves. It doesn't quite hit restate, but it hits solar plexus, heart, false, earth, and fire. So I think there's some people who take the rumblings of volcanoes with the wrong spiritual attitude. It's spirit and solar plexus is power comes from the spirit to transform and transmute. Heart is spirit makes your heart feel alive. False is okay. Earth is, and I think Earth is going to be important in this because the volcanoes come from the Earth. Okay, what this says is that for people who are experiencing this, what's happening to the Earth, it's going to change the way we communicate. People who write it off as a false sign are wrong. The Earth is trying to purify itself, and it's not finished yet. What we have in this sacral chakra, which is creativity, this is really how the Earth remolds itself, and it's aligned with the creativity, and it's a harmonizing. When the Earth has volcanoes, it's harmonizing. There's nothing on here that says they're huge. I mean, they're a huge threat if you live next to a volcano, but I don't see the cauldron that's under Yellowstone blowing up. it energizes us and it helps us understand. So the very theory of volcanoes moving around us really helps us grow. What I see, if we're going to have anything, it's going to be this summer, maybe a small tremors in the fall. Piece of paper and burn away all. That's, yeah, burns work. I don't burn things, but other people do, and I know people who swear by it. And what Carolyn's saying is to write a small prayer and then with a blessing and then burn it so it dispels that energy out of the universe. Okay. Ronnie wants a message from her mother. No, I think if you need to make a trip and you're going to go see your dad, if you're a place you can drive, that would be the first thing I'd say. Is I wouldn't get on an airplane for anything. But if you can drive the trip, go down and see him. San Antonio is a relatively well immunized community, and the big cities you pass through on the way, Dallas and Austin also are. I wouldn't go on any field trips into East Texas. But I think August is really when it's going to break. We're either going to decide we've got a way to handle this or not. I've always felt August was very important. I had one. Oh, this is the card you get. Oh, your mother's become one of your guides. You may not sense her around you because, like you said, you were polar opposites, Ronnie, but she's there, and I'm going to tell you, I have become one of your guides. I've become one of your guides. Now that I've had time to process and learn from my earthly presence, I'm working through my remaining life purpose by helping yours. In other words, she's come to terms with the negativity between the two of you. It's a vicarious way for me to fulfill my destiny as I fulfill yours. Please know that I will never interfere with your free will choices, though I was afraid you and I wouldn't love. Oh, there it goes. Though it's admittedly difficult at times to sit on the sideline and watch the choices you make, if I were asked, would advise you to maybe make them differently. As one of your spirit guides, my role is to simply love you. All that love that you receive from the many angels and guides are your shield to safeguard you to face stress and fear. Our collective love is healing, guiding, and protecting you. And know that you can call upon me or any of the angels anytime you need assistance or comfort. We're always there for you. So I think that's kind of an apology for how things didn't work out. And she's learned when she crossed over, and she's trying to make good on being a mom. Let's see. Okay. I don't have any more questions right at the moment. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk about, this is a divination tool. There's also a divination tool that's really ancient, and it's called runes. And that's a rune, and you can see it kind of looks like there's a little Z on it. And that rune is called Yara, or Yira, and it is the rune. It's got a really lovely definition, and I saw this was the first thing I saw this morning. Today you might find yourself in a situation you thought you were finished with. Note, however, though that the situation is similar to what you've experienced in the past, you have changed. You have learned valuable lessons. You can apply them to your life. And you are now back and ready to learn more and go deeper. Take pride in your ending ability to grow and change. And this particular rune means harvest. And when they would pull this, they would say that whatever you're working on is in a cyclical pattern. If you have the patience and correct energy, things will always come around in their own time. This is natural, not an unnatural development. A farmer's crops take their time to reach fruition. Everything will come to pass in its own season. Yira is sometimes considered karma when people look at runes. The end result may not necessarily be what desired, but it's what's fair. And right after I saw that write-up on Yira, I got a phone call from someone giving me guidance and telling me about my eggs, which I was about to walk away from, and I'm about to start refunding money to people, and some people have gotten their money refunded. And I got a phone call from someone that was sort of around me when we did the original decision about how to shape the form of the egg. And I'm being given the option to make the egg not solid, to have an artist I know make the medallions so I know all the stones are in the right place, and they will suspend the medallion in an egg. Yeah, you could use runes in the garden. Just be aware, this particular set of runes is made out of green adventuring, but you could put them in and then interpret the rune symbol. But to end my story, right after I got off the phone with him and he had affirmed that suspending the medallion in the middle of the egg would work, and maybe even work as well, or if not better, than a solid egg. It would not, it's not 6 of one, half dozen the other. It's really the same thing. And so I'm going ahead. We're getting some bids from the company that said they could do that and see how we can make that work, because this man got the first egg I ever made, and he said, "You have got to make this. It's so changed my ability to meditate and to move through different dimensions." He said, "We need it." Okay. Lots of gray cloud cover from smokes in California. Well, I know that you can, I think her name is Denise Lynn. She's on Hay House. She had a ranch that was in the way of a wildfire, and she and a bunch of psychics went and created a shield wall mentally around her farm, and the flames came up and grew right around her farm and then went on, and her place didn't burn. So that's her story. And I had no reason to not believe it, because she was standing on the border between the burnt ground and her ground. I think you can try to cleanse the whole situation, meditate on the whole situation and see it gone. I don't live where we have forest fires. I've lived with smoke from forest fires from Mexico, but I don't know much about them. And I would think, I'd Google, Andrea, actually I'd Google natural disasters and meditations and see what you get. Yeah, like I said, you could throw runes in the garden, and if I were to throw Jira and it ended up in fire, and we know this, that's kind of funny because this stone means karma, and this is sort of the southern node karma on the board. This is the north node karma on the board. So it kind of went back to the place it was supposed to be, but I didn't put a question to it. Pendulums. Okay, I have 2 pendulums. If I can pull them out. Actually, I have 3. I have one that's very fancy schmancy. I don't think Michigan's going to sink. I think Florida's going to sink. Somebody asking about global warming. Michigan may wash away. I have this pendulum which was made for me, and it's a lot of little rocks, and they stuck them all together and put them on the end of the chain. I've had this for over 40 years, and the person who did it put all the chakra colors in the stones and put it very deliberately together for me. And I'm good at losing things, and I haven't been able to lose that one yet. This is a one I ordered off of Etsy somewhere, and it's Metatron's Cube. Both of them work. If you've never worked with a pendulum, I actually just found an article when I was looking at ley lines about the art of the pendulum, and it's from a newsletter about pendulums, and they have all the different ways to use pendulums. I generally use them when I do past life readings and for quick yes-nos. You can also use a pendulum to check the vibration and energy off each of your chakra points, but sometimes that means you got to have a partner, because sometimes holding them over your chakra points is a little tricky. Ah, inner child cards. Yes. Thank you, Barbara. I do wander. I'm sorry. I don't mean to. This is one of the oldest decks I own, and I love it. And it's called The Inner Child Cards, and this is the book interpreting it. It's based on Rider-Waite Tarot. But then these people who did this, it took them 20 years to do it. All of the cards are based, like that's the Emperor's New Clothes. All the cards in here are based on children's images. That's cool if you've got homemade runes. I'm going to pull a card for Barbara. Oh. You got the Seven of Crystals, which would be the equivalent of the Seven of Stone Swords. I'm going to read, no, it's the Seven of Coins. I'm going to read you the interpretation of this, because these cards are so unique and their descriptions are so great. I'm going to hold it up so you can see it. This is tricky, holding the book and holding the card. Lighting of the candles is a symbolic gesture, represents a time to usher the illumination of the soul. Aren't you said you were doing some inner child work? The winter solstice is a sacred turning point for the year, often occurs during the Hebrew festival of lights, known as Hanukkah. As at the solstice, there is a prayer and a celebration honoring the sun's rebirth and the new dawning of the higher self. At this time, one can move away from the isolation and the darkness towards the spiritual seed you're sowing. And I think if you're doing inner child work, what this is telling you is the candles you're lighting for your soul are its way that it's going to come out. A time of waiting or rest is offered to you. Let the candles reflect the brilliance of your own inner journey. Find your own attunement and trust that all is well. Patience is a cardinal virtue. Remember, I got patience in that in some of my earlier readings. It's a cardinal virtue. This may be the time to pause for a phase while you're rebuilding strength for your next adventure or the awareness in your life. Be still and the inner truth will be revealed. So that's your inner child card from this deck. When I first did my channel, I used to pull one of these every day almost to read. It's hard putting cards on the garden. They don't get along. Just hard to maneuver them both. But this deck is absolutely brilliant, and I hope you know, if you, it's not cheap, but it's Isha Lerner and Mark Lerner. But if you just want to have one deck to use to pull a card a day and to contemplate, and why the hell did it show up? This is one I would get. My computer's throwing all sorts of things on my screen I hope you're not seeing. Okay, let's see. The situation around the water crisis. Runes, yeah, runes can be made out of bark, they can be made out of stone, they can be made out of metal, they can be made out of anything. You're welcome, Barbara. Okay, let's see. The water crisis. Oh, well, I'm going to use Euros here. The karmic stone showed up in water. The path forward is when we use our intelligence. We actually have a lot of the technology to move forward and get us out of this water crisis. It's just people don't want to do it, which kind of pisses me off, because I live in an area right now, we got more water. I've gone through really severe droughts here, and it's really, really horrible. The path forward for this is open up your mind and go forward with an open mind to find solutions. The spirit has to balance itself between it's transforming, but it's clarification is going to come from things. We already have the technology to do this. It's just people not doing it. clarification's going to come when people take cosmic wisdom and turn it into creativity, need to harmonize. So the problem is there's so many conflicting forces in water politics, and they just can't get together and agree, and they're going to, that's a big part of the problem. But you have that it's going to happen because you've got true and grounding elements, and true just when the body shows up in true, it just means yes. I mean, that's when you go to the sheets, that's what the sheets say. And the values, though, are part of the problem. No, the people, these new thoughts coming through, that value is going to come into the future. I guess the way I'd put all those together after I take Yara out is that we are going to be able to find other resources and start using ocean water. It's used all over the world. And we don't use gray water either nearly as well as we could, which is water that's been run through a certain process, but it's just not potable. Potable means drinkable. And in England, they have water that's not drinkable, that comes through their taps, and they run that into certain parts of the house, but the water you're supposed to drink comes out of your sink. And when my son was 4, we took him back to England to visit his father's family, and twice he got really sick after taking a bath. And finally one of my sister-in-laws said, does he drink the bath water? And I said, I don't think so, but I think, it might dribble in his mouth or whatever. And she said, he can't even do that. That's not potable water. So it makes a difference. So they don't expend their resources on making water that doesn't need to be beyond a certain level drinkable. Yes. Okay. It's shungite. There's there's a crystal called shungite, Shungite. I've given pieces of it away. It's a very dark, almost Abyssinian